Flood victims in Honduras have new homes as Tzu Chi completes DaAi village construction. Students from the Islamic school in Indonesia visited Jing Si Hall for lessons on universal love. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Siri Su. Thank you for joining us. Prior to Eid al-Fitr, the Muslim holiday marking the end of Ramadan, Tzu Chi volunteers in Indonesia held an aid distribution to help disadvantaged families in northern Jakarta, as food prices typically rise around important holidays.
Tzu Chi Indonesia chapter held an aid distribution in northern Jakarta for Eid. Volunteers prepare 5 kilograms of rice, cookies, and juice for each recipient.
The aid supplies are given to those who really need it, like orphans or single-parent families.
As food prices tend to rise right around Eid, for the economically disadvantaged, Tzu Chi's relief supplies relieve some of their financial burden.
Thank you, Tzu Chi Foundation, for giving us supplies for our Eid meal. I have received rice and cookies. This will help tremendously. I'm really grateful.
These 5 kilograms of rice can feed my family for 2 days. I am very grateful that I've received these supplies. It has helped relieve my family's financial burden.
Volunteers respectfully hand over the 788 relief packs to each of the recipients, hoping that they will have a good Eid this year.
In the aftermath of a flood in Honduras in 2011, Tzu Chi volunteers began bringing relief to the area, including building DaAi village for the displaced residents. Recently, 244 houses were completed and handed over to the residents at a ribbon-cutting ceremony. The president of Honduras also seized the occasion to thank Tzu Chi for their assistance.
On this day, thousands of people are gathered to celebrate the completion of Tzu Chi's DaAi village in Honduras, Choluteca.
Tzu Chi has helped Hondurans by giving them homes to live in. A house is a symbol of family. For these families that could not afford a home and could only live in a place made out of cardboard and tarps, life was difficult for them.
Tzu Chi has done much for these people. One can see the gratitude written on the faces of the locals. I believe spreading this love from Taiwan is our job here, and we must continue to do so.
Originally a wasteland, now buildings have been erected one by one. Tzu Chi entered Choluteca to bring flood relief in 2011.
This place was abandoned before. From the beginning of construction till now, it was about 6 months, but actual construction was less than 4, as rain delayed our work progress.
Construction began in September of 2015, and now 244 families can say goodbye to the days of living in tarpaulin homes.
Thank you, Tzu Chi, for building me a home. I'm a single mother with 4 children, and owning my own home is my biggest dream. Thank you, Tzu Chi, for fulfilling that dream for me. I'm simply speechless. With this house, I can now live in safety.
Tzu Chi volunteers from the United States also joined this auspicious occasion.
Both the president and mayor praised Tzu Chi for sending their love to Honduras. It seems like one day, when they are not president or mayor anymore, they will continue to spread Tzu Chi's spirit.
The president of Honduras also gifted each family with an eco-friendly stove and a water filter system to give every family a fresh start in their new lives.
In the United States, on June 22nd, the California Association of Nonprofits hosted a California Nonprofits Day celebration, honoring nonprofits, including Tzu Chi U.S. headquarters and Tzu Chi's Northern California chapter.
It is a day of celebration for all the Tzu Chi volunteers in the United States.
Tzu Chi Foundation in San Jose, honored by Assemblymember Tencent Chu.
Tzu Chi's U.S. headquarters and its Northern California chapter have been chosen as Nonprofits of the Year by California Association of Nonprofits.
As we celebrate Tzu Chi's 50th anniversary, winning such awards is a recognition of the Master's great love and contribution to the world.
推动到全世界最大的肯定。
California, located on the west coast of the United States, is the most populous state. Although it is a prosperous state, many homeless people can still be seen on the streets.
Thank you, Tzu Chi. Thank you.
In both northern and southern California, Tzu Chi volunteers regularly provide food and care for the homeless, hoping to help them get back on their feet.
I know I'm going to be all right, and I want to say thank you to this organization.
We appreciate everything y'all give for us. It's golden. We love you.
On California Nonprofits Day, Tzu Chi's work in the communities has earned recognition of the mainstream society. Tzu Chi Foundation was not only recommended by California Senator and Assembly member, but chosen as Nonprofits of the Year.
I had the opportunity to work with the members of Tzu Chi Foundation for over years. So they have done wonderful things in the district, and this is a great opportunity to recognize their contribution to our community and to the state of California.
As the award ceremony held in Sacramento, Tzu Chi volunteers feel honored and are encouraged to continue their work to help those in need.
Jiangsu Province, Funing, suffered a tornado and hailstorm on June 23rd, leaving many people homeless. The county government resettled many affected residents at a local primary school or set up tents for them. To ensure they no longer have to sleep on the ground, Tzu Chi volunteers distributed Jing Si folding beds and blankets to the school.
The second time that Tzu Chi volunteers arrived, these children are all smiles as the mood of the people who went through the disaster has now stabilized.
And
In these settlement areas, there's mutual concern for everyone's well-being.
This disaster struck, and now we have a responsibility and an obligation. We are sad and can't sleep in our homes, but we feel at ease here.
On June 23rd, a storm bringing rain and hail led the Funing County government to relocate the victims. Early emergency efforts have included the distribution of Tzu Chi Jing Si folding beds and blankets.
Personally, I can't do much to help them, but with Tzu Chi here, it's an important part of the disaster relief.
Involved in the food industry, Huang Mingchao was deeply moved by the conditions of victims.
I was afraid that people would see my tears. So I came over here to this area. We should follow the Tzu Chi brothers and sisters and do more in this disaster area.
On the fourth day of this relief effort, some 125 Jing Si folding beds were delivered to this elementary school for those in need.
On the first anniversary of Bali Water Park explosion, many recall that, according to previous formulas, the mortality rate of the injured burn victims could reach as high as 50%. But in the end, this rate fell to just 3%. Many foreign experts call it a miracle. Let's take a look at the efforts of medical professionals in Taiwan who created this miracle.
Almost overnight, this water park turned into a nightmare scene with victims requiring urgent medical care. The nearest facility was the Damsui branch of the McKay Memorial Hospital. That night, it received 59 people, with 80% having burns over 80% of their body, requiring emergency surgery on their extremities.
If
the burn affected the body's blood vessels and nerves, then the skin of burned hands and feet must all be cut open. For the first 2 days, we all did 9 or 10 surgeries until the early morning. After we did this for 2 days, we knew that we couldn't go on, as our team would collapse.
With surgery wards operating from early morning till night, there is also the threat of infection. For this reason, McKay Memorial Hospital established a burn dressing group staffed by plastic surgeons and nurses. A total of 5 to 8 people would work in a team, and what would normally take 2 hours to change a dressing could now be accomplished within 30 minutes.
We had someone to give commands, such as lifting patients' feet or something else. This ensured everyone's action is consistent, so we can make the process of changing dressings quickly.
The average age of the victims from a water park blast was 22 years old. Those experiencing burns of 44% of their body, if multiplied by 0.8, which is the factor judging survival rates for burns, the actual mortality rate would be more than 50%. Fortunately, of the 499 injured, the mortality rate was only 3%, which is a tribute to the hard work of this medical staff.
那我们医院当时呢，开了4间的手术房，24小时开放。
At the time, our hospital had opened 4 operating rooms that were going 24 hours a day, just like 7-Eleven. The use of cadaver skin played an important role.
For those with little to no skin, this cadaveric skin was a great help and turned out to be the best possible temporary dressing.
At the Tri-Service General Hospital's skin bank, which had been in operation for 20 years, at the time of the water park explosion, this refrigerator held Taiwan's largest stock of cadaver skin, which was nearly 60 tubes, but it was all used in less than 1 day.
The health ministry spent more than $3.1 million to purchase nearly 250,000 square centimeters of cadaveric skin. Also, around 2,000 doctors were mobilized. Patients treated at the original 15 hospitals were transferred to 54 participating hospitals around Taiwan. This distribution led patients to receive the best possible care, as such resource scheduling turned out to be the most important key to battling this disaster.
We would ask each hospital every day how much cadaver skin they would need for their surgeries the next day. This would prevent us from giving one hospital too much and another too little. And one thing that was done for the first time was receiving medical support from southern Taiwan.
It was the first time Taiwan faced such a large accident that left so many people burned or scarred. The very low mortality rate led international experts to take notice. But for healthcare workers who endured this incredible hardship, their greatest hope is to avoid another tragedy of this sort.
In Taiwan, Tzu Chi's Project Hope of disaster risk reduction is assisting 9 schools in the Taidong area. While construction is ongoing, Tzu Chi Foundation held a second expansion conference inviting civil engineers and builders to conduct an assessment of the project in hopes of building a safe learning environment.
You need a simple convex angle here to adapt to changes. When it's being pulled, when the earthquake is causing it to shake, the steel rebar will straighten, and the concrete may burst from here.
These civil engineers will not overlook any detail as they work to ensure that the buildings for the 9 schools in Taidong for Tzu Chi's Project Hope of disaster risk reduction are structurally sound.
For the students who will be learning in this environment, it will actually influence them greatly. We can cultivate students with high levels of self-control.
For the second expansion conference in Taidong, Tzu Chi invited civil engineers and builders to survey the construction site and give feedback as necessary.
We're taking this opportunity to conduct surveys of the construction sites for work quality, and also to let the builders know that the Tzu Chi Foundation is very serious about construction quality.
Tzu Chi Foundation's Education Mission Director Cai Bing-kun also joined the assessment team.
I look forward to this cooperation between the school, the county government, our builders, as well as Tzu Chi. Things should be completed in the next half year so that students can gain earlier access to the facilities.
With this construction assessment, Tzu Chi hopes to give students a safer learning environment.
In Indonesia, Al-Isar Islamic School reached out to the Tzu Chi Indonesia chapter to arrange an outing for their students to learn about compassion.
143 junior high school students entered this Jing Si Hall, a Buddhist cultivation ground where many of these children of the Islamic faith learned lessons similar to what they have been taught which is helping others. Each child is also given a coin bank.
To become a person that wants to help others, we shouldn't only think of ourselves, and this coin bank can be a part of our daily lives.
By placing a pen in their mouth and attempting to write, these children are experiencing what it's like to live with disabilities.
I have to give thanks because I am healthy and I have the use of both of my hands, so I should be able to help other people.
Al-Azhar is an Islamic school, and its teachers reached out through the internet to contact Tzu Chi to arrange for this field trip.
I've seen that the Tzu Chi school pays great attention to character development, and we also hope to come here and learn about how to promote moral education.
Though they may differ in terms of faith, all the students here today are eager to learn universal wisdom and compassion.
This year at Jing Si Books and Cafe in New Taipei City, classes were held for young children to learn good manners and polite attitudes. Many parents have been surprised by the progress their children have made.
These young children are trying hard to learn sign language. At Jing Si Books and Cafe, they are learning to practice goodwill towards others. These young children are already learning lessons from the sutras. These humanistic classes started in April. In the beginning, children were absent-minded, but slowly the classes have captured their focus. One mother was very surprised to hear her young daughters using Jing Si aphorisms so casually.
Once, my daughter was complaining to her father, and she used a Jing Si aphorism to say her sister was using bad words, talking like a hissing snake. Her sister, not to be outdone, said the same thing about her sister. I think the aphorisms and their lessons have really been absorbed by the kids.
These young children have already learned to bow respectfully. They are learning proper etiquette for all aspects of their daily lives.
I've been coming here with my grandma since I was very little. I really like it here because we can learn a lot in the etiquette courses. Things like the importance of being filial to our parents. I really try hard to help my mom and dad at home.
Learning humanistic behavior and good manners will help these youngsters build a strong foundation for a moral life, and as they grow, they will inspire others to do good as well.
In Taiwan, retired teacher Wu Songhe started collecting the fallen leaves before retiring at his school to turn them into compost. After he retired, he promoted these ideas to parks in Kaohsiung and Pingtung.
Turning fallen leaves into compost is an idea of Wu Songhe, a retired teacher, and it has been adopted at over 10 schools and parks in Kaohsiung and Pingtung.
Cement ground, asphalt roads, or high-pressure bricks can't be used. We'll need dirt ground and surround it with a 3-foot or 90-centimeter long fence and have someone to look after it. Then it won't produce flies or pests or bad smell.
Wu Songhe goes to the school that support his idea to sweep out fallen leaves. After he collects them, he stamps on them and waters them so they can rot faster.
After they rot, insects such as stag beetles, rhinoceros beetles, and scarabs will raise their larvae in there.
Through a natural cycle, the fallen leaves compost pile can become a place for observing ecology, and also can be used for growing plants and vegetables. Thus, these fallen leaves are no longer garbage, but good continuous sources for ecology.
In Kaohsiung, Huang Liyue spent over 15 years caring for her mother, who was in a persistent vegetative state, PVS, before she passed away. Grateful for the Genesis Social Welfare Foundation's assistance when she was looking after her mother, she now volunteers for the organization, reaching out to other families of PVS patients.
After the plastic mat is placed into warm water, the grandmother can finally be bathed. She's in a persistent vegetative state, or PVS, and needs someone to help bathe her. With the assistance of a professional team, her husband, Mr. Lin, is very happy.
After I'm done giving her a bath, she goes to sleep and doesn't wake up when I call her.
The grandmother has been bedridden since a car accident 18 years ago, and her husband has been taking care of her by himself. Every 2 to 3 hours, her body needs to be moved, and in the middle of the night, her diaper needs to be changed.
Really, I'm incredibly moved. Their help makes me feel relaxed, taking away my pressure.
Since 8 years ago, the Genesis Social Welfare Foundation has been sending a professional team to help bathe the grandma. Huang Li Yue, in particular, has been called a bath angel because of her experience taking care of her mother for 15 years. Huang remembers how much effort it took to give her mother a bath.
I would take my mother to the bathroom, but I still needed helping hands.
3 years ago, when her mother passed away, Huang decided to contribute her own strength to others.
I'm grateful to the foundation for helping my mother. I should also pay it forward. Our society needs some positive energy.
By becoming a home-based volunteer, Huang hopes to provide reprieve for families of PVS patients so they can continue the days ahead with new positivity.
In Taiwan's Changhua Yongjing district, Mrs. Zhang recently passed away at the age of 72. After her passing, her family decided not to burn joss paper out of concern for the environment. At her funeral, they remembered her generosity and made a collection that will be used to help the less fortunate.
Mr. Zhan's wife passed away on June 13th. After losing his other half, he decided to honor his wife with an act of love by donating money collected at her funeral. Half was given to Tzu Chi, and the other half will go towards scholarships for students.
If she ran into someone who was suffering difficulties, she would just open her purse right there to offer what she could.
Mrs. Zhan was a long-time donating Tzu Chi member and a very social and warm-hearted person. After her passing, her husband will continue to donate and practice goodwill. Their 3 sons also decided to offer a solemn farewell to their mother at the funeral service.
For the funeral service, we did the traditional rituals for the first 7 days after death, according to Buddhist style. And we didn't burn any of the joss money, which is rather uncommon in this area.
The decision not to burn the joss money at the funeral was out of concern for air pollution.
Whenever family members pass away, we are always used to smelling the burning money and also the old clothing, so it's remarkable they didn't do it. Air pollution is important to think about.
Usually the ash goes everywhere, but this service, there wasn't any. I think it's pretty commendable.
The traditional belief that the ritual money will make the deceased happy in the afterlife is a strong one. However, to avoid polluting the environment, the funeral service for Mrs. Zhan chose to do without it. Instead, to honor the goodwill of the deceased, people chose to donate money to the living to continue a cycle of love.
To help students learn English in an interesting way, Tzu Chi Senior High School, affiliated with Tzu Chi University, held an experimental class that incorporated English board games, singing, and performances. Attended by students from different junior high schools in Hualien, this class encouraged students to learn English through playing and interacting with others in English, so they learn language in a fun and natural setting. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.